Hey everybody, this is herculespetix, founder, curator, docent, and gift shop employee of the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies. Tonight we're going to be looking at Roots of the Swamp Thing, number 3 through 5, continuing and concluding our look at these 80s reprints of the classic Len Wein, Bernie Wrightson run on the original Swamp Things from 1972, probably into 1973. We're probably into 1973 by now. The reprints. So let's crack open number 3. Nice cover by Bernie Wrightson, like they all are. I mean, they're all great. This one illustrating, this is the cover of number 4, the original Swamp Thing. I'm sorry, 5. And this is kind of a little side note here. In the 70s, Bernie Wrightson had a beautiful, full-color painted portfolio, 4 paintings. And one of them, the composition is very similar to this, but it's not Swamp Thing. It's Hanover Fist, his character that was in the heavy metal movie. Captain Stern's adversary / cohort, and I just thought that was interesting because I haven't seen this in a while. So when I was reading it last night, I was like, "Hey, that's just like that painting." We got a contents page. And we start off with a reprint of issue number 5, The Last of the Ravenwind Witches. Same creative team as usual. So Swamp Thing has made his way. He's a stowaway on this ship. Well, not really a stowaway, but he's been kind of hiding out. I guess he figures this jacket and this hat will... people won't be able to see he's a big monster, 7-foot-tall monster. But I guess he didn't want to just stay down in the hold. So he came out to the deck to stretch his legs. And, of course, the sailors are like, that guy's a fucking monster. This guy actually says, we got a monster on deck. You don't often hear that at sea. So they attack him. And something's just throwing them around. But he's like, this isn't even worth it. Just leave me alone. This isn't a thing that Len Wein does more and more, which is kind of silly. It's kind of takes me out of the story because it's so dumb. Swamp Thing can't talk. All of his thought balloons, that's all they are. He doesn't have the capacity. Every now and then he seems to be able to say one word or something, but I don't think he has the vocal cords. But Wein makes him talk to people. In his thought balloons, even though they can't hear him. So, like, here's an example. You're wrong, my friend. It bothered me, all right. It's like they can't hear you. Who are you talking to? Who are you thinking at? He does it more and more. He didn't do it in the first few issues. So Swamp Thing's just so annoyed. He just says, fuck it. I'm going to jump off the deck into the ocean and swim the rest of the way to land. He didn't think about how cold the water was, and he's really... numbed, and he's freezing. So he's kind of in this fugue state of just being like half conscious from the cold. He has a flashback here illustrating how he got to the ship. Len Wein likes to always have little references to the stories, either the previous story or an earlier story. So do you remember last issue, Squire lied about the horse running away or something? Really, he just took the horse in the cart and tied it like 200 yards away because he was trying to trick them. So Swamp Thing finds it after, everyone's either dead or gone now. He rides it to the coast and gets on the ship. Kind of unnecessary. He could have just done this in a caption. Then again, kind of unnecessary for me to recount it to you, but I'm not very good at this podcast. So, back to the present, he's in the ocean, and the current's really strong. And as he gets to the shore, he's like, those breakers will smash me against the rocks. And it looks like he's pretty messed up by these waves. They just toss him onto the rocks. Beautiful panel here. Wrightson just illustrating the ocean. There's some pictures like this in his Frankenstein portfolio. Just beautiful, sinuous waves of the ocean. Just... really just great stuff. Now we cut away. We see this woman, Rebecca Ravenswind, and her little brother Timothy. They're being followed, being pursued by Gideon and the rest of the townspeople where she lives, this little town. They hide in a cave, and then all of a sudden, Swamp Thing rises out of the water, and he collapses. Though he's really messed up from that experience. While he's asleep, we have another flashback to the origin story, which we've seen like 4 of these already. And then he wakes up, and I guess Rebecca and Timothy were watching over him. They're very kind people. We find out that Timothy's a little simple, and Rebecca tells him that the reason why they're being pursued is because that town thinks she's a witch. So she says her goodbyes to us. She says her goodbye to Swamp Thing. She says, okay, we got to find a way to get out of here. See you later. But Swamp Thing isn't going to have it. He feels very grateful that they watched over him. And so he catches up to them and says, basically he's going to be their protector if Gideon shows up, which is exactly what happens. So they're on this pretty craggy precipice here, and they got him cornered. The townspeople attack. One of the guys chops off Swamp Thing's arm with a scythe, and Swamp Thing's very pissed. It's interesting that even though he's a muck monster, he doesn't have blood or gore. They can't really show it. It cuts off right there. Like Wrightson makes it apparent that his arm chopped off, but they can't really show it blatantly because of the comics code. So some guy throws like a little lamp or something, the fire starts, and Swamp Thing backs up, and he falls off this giant precipice. I guess to anyone else it would be to his apparent doom. But, it's Swamp Thing. He's not going to die. So Gideon grabs Rebecca and Timothy, and they take him back to this beautiful little town of Divinity, Maine. They're going to put her on trial for being a witch, and in the meantime, they're going to lock up Timothy. But they really want Rebecca. They're the ones they care about. Of course, it's a typical witch trial. It's all bullshit. And we find out why Gideon really just seems to hate this woman. Apparently, Rebecca's predecessors, generations ago, he blames her family for the reason why every generation of his family has only one leg. I guess it's a genetic defect. So, of course, he has a peg leg. I guess at birth, they're just born. He even, grabs his own baby and shows everyone, look, the curse is still going on. My son has one leg. So everyone thinks she's guilty. I just want to point out, too, just Wrightson's illustration. He's really putting more and more work every issue in. Meanwhile, Swamp Thing realizes he can grow back his arm. He's a plant, right? So we see it all shriveled at first, and it grows back pretty quick. So he's going to head to the town and rescue Rebecca and Timothy. These little shitty kids in town are kind of taunting and picking on Timothy through the jail cell window, and Swamp Thing shows up, and they all run. Another great Wrightson panel there. Swamp Thing rips the whole wall out and frees Timothy. Timothy says, they took her outside of town. They're going to kill her. I guess they didn't want to contaminate the town with the smell of burning flesh and her witchery. She even says, you can't blame me for your family's genetic deformity. And then Swamp Thing shows up. Timothy in tow. The townspeople attack. Kind of echoes the front cover. And Rebecca's about to burn to death. So Swamp Thing rips the tree out of the ground, away from the fire. And then Rebecca says, I'll take it from here now that I'm free. And he throws a pitchfork at her, and she just lifts her hand up and melts the pitchfork. And then all of a sudden, the sky is filled with storm. And all the townspeople begin to scream. The storm goes away, and it turns out all the townspeople have been turned into flowers. And we find out that she's not a witch. She's just the medium. I'm sorry, the familiar. Timothy's the witch. He did all that through her, because she's the familiar. And basically they walk off, and who knows, maybe we'll see them again. Meanwhile, we have a very mysterious teaser for the next issue. In a New England town many miles away, we see a couple talking on a porch, and it's Alec and Linda Holland. What the? We'll find out next issue, which is called A Clockwork Horror. And this is we printed number 6, same creative team. We start off in Matthew Cable's FBI office, or Interpol, whatever, and he's looking at a Swamp Thing file, and one of his assistants comes in and says, "You're not going to like this news, Matt. They're taking you off the Swamp Thing case. You're too personally involved," which I would say is totally true, because he's been really obsessed with this shit. And they want you to check out this weird little town in Vermont. And, of course, he's furious. Matt Cable's really annoyed by this. Meanwhile, we see a mountain roadway in Vermont. Looks like a Swamp Thing stowed away in a truck. And it hits a bump, and a box of vegetables falls off. But more importantly, Swamp Thing falls out of the truck, falls through the railing, and once again falls down from a great height. He lands on the ground. When he looks up, he sees Linda Holland offering him help, and he passes out from the shock. Meanwhile, 50 miles back along the road, we see Matt and Abigail. I didn't mention Abigail was in the office. She's kind of his assistant now. And even though she has no experience in police work or anything, but he finagled it, I guess. Oh, there's that cute dog again. So they're still hanging out with that dog. And the dog still has the transmitter at his head. So we see the head of the conclave, Mr. E. With his little... I'm starting to think his little monkey is more than just a pet. It might be his catamite. I don't know. They're very close. So apparently this town in Vermont, Matt informs us, the reason why they want to look into it is it was a deserted mining town that suddenly sprung back to life, but none of the town's residents have ever registered with the government or paid any taxes. So it's just something very mysterious is going on. That's why he's there. Meanwhile, Swamp Thing is waking up. Linda is now joined by Alec Holland. Of course, in his thoughts, he's just like, what the? I'm Alec Holland. What the? Just completely bamboozled. Thinks he's dreaming. They're very nice. They're just incredibly kind people. And they're like, we'll take you to the mayor. He'll explain everything. So they take him to the village here. And it's this beautiful, it looks like some Swiss village. Really just a cute little adorable town. And they take him to see Mayor Clockman, who's a clockmaker. It's spelled Klocchmann. Clockman. He's a very kind of jovial, happy, friendly guy. Surrounded by all these clocks. Another beautiful writes and illustration. He definitely had some kind of a little obsessiveness. Whenever he drew a room full of objects, he had to draw like 8,000 of them. You know, like when he draws laboratories, he has to draw every beaker and all kinds of kooky stuff. So Hans Clockman tells him a story. It turns out everyone in the town is a robot that he built. Everywhere, all these robots have been programmed. They're very human-like, but he didn't put any of the negative emotions of humanity in them. So there's no hatred. They have no envy, jealousy, any of the dark emotions. They're just kind, friendly. So it's almost like this paradise. So he tells the whole story about how, after the war, he basically designed all these robots because he's from Switzerland, and he left before the Nazis invaded. Well, they never invaded Switzerland, but you know what I'm saying, Europe. And he stumbled upon this little mining town that was kind of deserted, and he says, "I'm going to make my own great little town." So he basically, the reason why, this is the explanation why Alec and Linda Holland are running around. He designed his robots, he modeled them after people in the obituary columns because he figured those people aren't using their identities anymore. So it really is, it's like next level robotics. They look just like humans. They're almost androids. And Matt and Abby show up now. Now, of course, once again, Mr. E can hear everything. And he's just like, what? A town full of mechanical men? Oh, we could make a lot of money off this. So he sends a task force. Meanwhile, Swamp Thing's getting a little tour of the environs from Linda. And he finds himself just like, I know this is a robot, but she's just like Linda. And he's kind of falling for it. Look at it. He's almost about to kiss her. It looks like she's going to kiss him back. But then all of a sudden, he says, no. So he does say no. Every now and then, Swamp Thing can yell no. That seems like the only word he can say. But then he thinks, what in holy hell am I doing? This is wrong. All of a sudden, the sound of helicopters fills the air. And the helicopter lands. It's that task force led by this robot, which is basically Mr. E, controlling it and talking through it. The mayor introduces himself, and they're basically just saying, Mr. E, through the robot, just says, we're taking over. These robots are ours now. And he's like, no. He tries to resist. But these guys are not taking no for an answer. Matt Cable tries to intervene. They shoot him in the arm. And they grab Matt and Abby because they still want the information about Swamp Thing. And they put him in the helicopter. Meanwhile, one of the soldiers, the task force guys, just kills the Alec Holland robot, blows him away just to threaten everyone. Of course, Linda is like, no. Linda robot. They shoot her next. And Swamp Thing is just devastated. She's like, even though she's a robot, she's almost just like Linda. I almost redeemed her in a way. Excuse me. So Swamp Thing attacks the robot. The robot knocks him down. And he gets up. They start fighting. And then they're going to shoot Swamp Thing. And Hans Klockman jumps in the way. Sacrifices himself to rescue Swamp Thing. He doesn't know the Swamp Thing can't die, really. So all of a sudden, the robots see their beloved leader fallen. And these robots, which were never programmed for violence or hatred or anger, something changes in them. And they all look at the task force guys. The task force guys start blowing them away, but they keep coming at them and and they kill them all. Even though they're like kind of blowing up and fritzing out. So all that's left is a pile of this like dead robots, inactive burning robots, and dead task force guys. Of course, Len Wein has to make some comment about man and humanity because, Even these robots, which technically couldn't even feel these things, they still ended up being violent. And Swamp Thing walks off with the dog. And I guess he's going to head to Gotham City, where that's where the Conclave is headquartered. And that's where they've taken Matt and Abby. So Swamp Thing jumps on a train with the cute dog. And look at this, guys. The Night of the Bat. So you know what's coming. This is a nice little extra. We get a Wien Wrightson House of Mystery story. I'm just going to say that for now. Oh, look. Yes, House of Mystery number 191. Night Prowler. This is just so cute. It's not really. It's pretty dumb. So apparently there's a night prowler on the loose. The guy's been breaking into people's houses. We see this couple in the middle of the night. The wife says, I heard something downstairs. And he says, I did too. And he loads his shotgun. And he goes downstairs. And he smiles and says, well, I'll be a son of a gun. And we don't know what he saw until he says, are you all right? He says, oh, everything's fine, honey. There might just be hope for humanity yet. And you hear the quiet hoofbeats rose from the roof, carrying the sound of jingle bells. It was Santa. He was the home invader. Good thing he didn't shoot him. That would have been not good. And this is nice. We get a nice little 2-page appreciation of Len Wein and Bernie Wrightson Swamp Thing from Alan Moore, who at the time was blowing up with his version of Swamp Thing. So this is like pre-Watchmen, but he was still pretty hot shit at this time. Everyone was loving Swamp Thing. I know I was. Little picture and little mini thing of bio of Joe Orlando, the editor. And here's the cover of number 6. Okay, now we got part 4. Number 4 or 5. There you go. Issue number... Am I doing this right? Yeah, issue number 7. A reprint. So we're in Gotham City. This hobo sees Swamp Thing and it's just like, Night of the Bat. A police officer calls it in. He says, there's a monster down here breaking into a used Salvation Army store. Because he wants a jacket and a hat. Once again, his brilliant disguise. Nobody would know you're a monster looking like that. So he comes out of the store. The cops have already showed up. They're surrounding him. They shoot at him. And he picks up a police car and throws it, destroying the other police cars, and runs off with the dog. Meanwhile, we see Bruce Wayne at the Wayne Foundation finishing up a business meeting, and it turns out, look, it's Mr. E. Apparently he's on the board of directors or something at Wayne Foundation. Batman goes out into the night. It's so amazing when, like, I don't know if Bernie Wrightson ever drew Batman before this. I don't think he did, but he's so good at it. Like, he was meant to draw Batman, even though, like, none of the editors thought, hey, let's just have him draw Batman. But I think later on they did, at least some covers I think he did. But he didn't really do Batman. But look how good his Batman is. Definitely he's responsible for elongating the ears of Batman, which of course Kelly Jones ran with and made them twice as big. So we see Batman's going through Gotham trying to figure out what the hell's going on. He's trying to stop these smugglers, I guess. Batman does some righteous ass kicking. And it turns out that Batman is on the hunt for this mysterious Mr. E, the head of the Conclave. He's been trying to track them down for months. He sees a bat signal. Now, meanwhile, we cut away. We see that guy, Mr. E. His name's Nathan Ellery. That's how Bruce Wayne knows him. And he gets in his limousine with his poorly drawn monkey. And he goes back to his stronghold And we see Matt, Cable, and Abigail there. Look at all that great stuff. There's like Wally Wood worthy, all this electronic equipment in the background. And they're basically torturing them. To try to get information about Swamp Thing. Meanwhile, Commissioner Gordon says, Batman, we need you. There's a monster loose in the streets of Gotham. So now we see Swamp Thing. He's also like kind of, I guess he's got the hat and the coat for it. He's kind of being a gumshoe. He's going around, shaking people down, trying to get information. He hangs out at this bar just waiting for someone to talk about the conclave. And I guess this guy says, here's the address. I'm going down there right now to the conclave. They just hired me. And Swamp Thing just grabs the paper. But the guy grabs Swamp Thing's hat. So everyone says, it's a monster. And it starts a big brawl. So now Swamp Thing continues to shake down people. So there's the transmitter in the dog's head also can summon him. It can be like it can, they don't just listen through it. They can also control the dog in a weird way. I don't know if there's a homing signal that they make him run to. So all of a sudden, the dog starts running and barking and just heading towards some place. Now we see Batman. He's doing the same thing as Swamp Thing, shaking down guys, beating them up if they're not giving him information. So many great, iconic panels of Batman in here. It's like Bernie, this is like almost, I think it was the only Batman comic Bernie Wrightson ever drew for like decades. And it's one of the best. It's like, he's so good at drawing Batman. So then Batman sees Swamp Thing's dog. And he follows it. And so, of course, the dog is heading towards, the conclave stronghold. Now, I should have been more clear. I was a little confused by this at first. So I guess Matt and Abby are being tortured in this little lab that's owned by the conclave. But it's not like Mr. E's full-out stronghold. It's another place. So something breaks in. There's that evil scientist who's been torturing him. And he frees Matt and Abby. We get another recap of the origin. So now Swamp Thing knows where Mr. E's stronghold is. And it seems like Batman does too. Batman shows up there because the dog's scratching on the door. And then Swamp Thing shows up. So they both ended up here. Swamp Thing says, I've got to reason with Batman. But he can't talk. So Batman attacks him. We get this great brouhaha, this great fight. Swamp Thing knocks him out. And then Swamp Thing realizes, okay, this is the place. So Batman just picks the lock. He enters that way. Swamp Thing climbs up the building. So they're both heading to the top here. Batman to the staircase, and Batman swings open the door to Mr. E's, I guess he's having a party. And I should have given a trigger warning. I know that they have those for movies, but violence against dogs. So the dog, he's drawn to Mr. E. He's got the transmitter on him, the homing beacon. So he jumps up, and he's like, damn you, dog, you ruined everything. You led my enemies to me. And he shoots him dead. Swamp Thing is just says, oh my God, no. He's going to kill Mr. E. But even though he's killed a bunch of people in this comic, he says, no, I can't become like him. And Emerald, he kind of shoves Emerald away, Mr. Ellery, Mr. E. He steps on the monkey's paw, and the monkey bites him. It's just a natural reaction to defend himself. And they all kind of get tangled up, and they both fall off the balcony. This very sturdy-looking concrete or rock balcony, stone balcony, and they fall to their doom. And when Batman turns around, Swamp Thing's gone. Now we have The Lurker in Tunnel 13. Same creative team. Great, beautiful splash page here. The way Wrightson draws snow here, with this kind of weird cross-hatching, and it's really interesting looking. A little shout out to Joe Orlando. Orlando's trucking. So we have a little flashback. He tells us how he got out of Gotham City. He's once again stowed away in a truck. And I guess he jumped out too soon because it's freezing. So he hears a scream from a cave in the middle of the woods. And when he goes inside, he sees this old man being attacked by a bear. So Swamp Thing starts fighting with the bear. It's strange that Bernie Wrightson, to me, is such a great artist, but he's not very good at drawing animals. I bet he would be. Maybe he has to look at them. And, for a comic, it's rushed. He had a deadline. He didn't, go find his, whatever, bear reference. But this bear's kind of goofy looking. Just like that monkey was. Pretty amazing fight. This could have been 10 pages at least. Swamp Thing versus a bear. So he defeats the bear. And he talks to the old man. It looks like, I think he's dying. He says, I can thank you for trying to rescue me. Look how well drawn he is here. He says, whatever you do, don't go into Perdition, the town. Right over there. And he gives him a little story. He says it used to be a fine town, a mining town, where the miners were fucking hot as hell. Look at this guy with his shirt off. This drawing is getting better and better. So I guess the coal ran out, so the town became a ghost town. And so that old man, his father, he started checking into unnatural ways to restore the mines, using the occult. One day he went down into the caves with all of his mystic books. That's the last anyone ever saw of his father. There was a scream that night, came out of the mine. And then ever since after that, people kept disappearing from the town. Anyone who went too close to the mine would disappear. Yeah, that's why the old man was out in the woods. He was trying to run away from the town until that bear got him. So Swamp Thing's going to head to Perdition. Once again, townspeople see him. Like, it's a monster. He killed his old Ezekiel there. So it's kind of weird in all these movies ever since I was a kid. It was like the monster's trying to rescue a pretty lady or something. They're holding them in their arms. I don't know, if I saw a monster holding someone in their arms, I wouldn't say, hey, he just killed him. Like, who's going to kill someone and then lift them up in his arms and walk around with them? You wouldn't do that if you killed someone. But this is like, I've seen this 1,000 times in my life. Like, yeah, he must have killed the guy. No, he's carrying him around. So we get another nice Donnybrook here. That shoves a pickaxe right into Swamp Thing's gut to no effect. And then the townspeople all come out after Swamp Thing, I'm sorry, I should mention. This guy Jason says, hey, come on, everybody, cut it out. And then all of a sudden, he's incredibly friendly. And all of a sudden, everyone in the town is kind of friendly, like acting overly friendly and weird. And Swamp Thing's like, this place is crazy. What the hell's going on? And Jason, he's got this beautiful wife and kid, and he's like, oh, let us tend to your wounds. Let my wife Lydia. Meanwhile, we see these inset panels. He awakens. And they continue. At awakening, he becomes aware. So back at the house, they're all tending to Swamp Thing's wounds. And they're saying little things that are just a little off, like, Oh yeah, I want to make sure you're nice and whole. Whole, fixed up perfect, We wouldn't want to lose the first visitor this town's had in years. We need you in perfect condition. Everyone's laughing a little too much. And all of a sudden they hear a scream. And Lydia says, "Oh my God, our son's gone. He must have ran out of the house while we're having this little get-together." So they say, "Let's get a search party." And Swamp Thing says, of course they all go to the mine because that's where people have been disappearing. Swamp Thing says, "I'll take care of it. I'll go down to the mines." And Len Wein writes, if Swamp Thing were to look back, he might notice the most bizarre expression on their faces, a gleaming grin of triumph. So this was all a trick. They were tricking Swamp Thing. That's why they were acting so weird. And basically, it's this giant Cthulhu-like monster. Len Wein was obviously reading some H.P. Lovecraft. I didn't mention it, guys. They even shout out Lovecraft at one point. I can't remember where. But they mention H.P. Lovecraft and Edgar Allan Poe and stuff. So I think it's pretty obvious. His name's Managala. And he tells him the story. He said, "It was me, Managala, who decreed the birth of life on your world. I saw the coming of man and bestowed him with the capacity for mindless violence." God, I love that panel so much. This tiny little panel, these cavemen fighting, it's just like Frazetta worthy, Oh, here it is. He says, "But Magala has been generous as well. He has touched the minds of your greatest writers, Lovecraft, Bierce, Poe." That'd be funny if he put in his own name. Lovecraft, Poe, Wein. So I guess he did this from his own dimension. But because Ezekiel's father, that old man, Abraham, because he opened up this, I guess, with his mystic books in the cave, he could enter our dimension, but by taking over Abraham's body, almost like a big infection. And so basically this is Abraham. And over the years, he grew, he consumed more mass. Any critter that would go by the cave and eat. And I guess there's something where he has to be a certain size because any day now, there's going to be this amazing cosmic alignment, as you can see, between all the planets. And if he's the proper size, it seems important for this, he'll become master of the universe. And it just seems a little trivial that, why would you have to be a certain size? What does that have to do with anything? So Swamp Thing takes this big wooden beam from the mine, throws it right into him, pierces Managala. And then the whole tunnel caves in. So Swamp Thing comes out of the cave. He made it. And basically, once again, he's talking to this guy in his head. "You filthy scum. You sent me in there as a sacrifice." He can't hear you. So he said, he controlled our minds. He made us. So Swamp Thing walks away, pissed off. But then we realize, we see Jason, and he's got that infection, the Managala infection. The end? He even puts the question mark there. And then we have a next issue teaser. Once again, a little bonus story, He Who Laughs Last. This one's written by Len Wein, with art by Bernie Wrightson and Mike Kaluta, the two studio mates collaborating. And you can totally see both of them in here. You can definitely see lots of Kaluta. And there's a fun little kind of a shock suspense story, crime suspense story, where there's a circus and their star clown died. And I guess his daughter, this cute little girl, she now owns his interest in the circus, like a third. the ringmaster and some other dude on the other third, and they want to buy her out. Her uncle's kind of her guardian, and he says, "Oh, this is the only life she's known. She's not leaving the circus. I'm not going to let you buy her out." And then this new clown shows up. They hire this new clown who's amazing. Everyone loves him. He's very talented. And he becomes very close with the little girl. And we also find out that those two guys, the co-owners, they killed her father. So they're going to kill her now. She's a bareback horse rider. Look at that beautiful. I see a lot of clued in that. I mean, writes into really nice stuff. And I don't know, they shoot this horse with a little dart to make it buck, and hopefully it would kill her. The clown saves her. And so then he realizes that they're like, okay, we got to kill off that Uncle Ben guy, her uncle. He's probably the clown. So one of them says, "Okay, Rick, you slip into the old man's wagon and take care of him. I'll wait for you here." And minutes go by. And finally, this older guy says, "Something's gone wrong." And he goes into the circus. This is such a creepy image. It's like something from Carnival of Souls. We see a merry-go-round, and Rick, the younger guy, is on one of the horses. He looks like he's slumped over. And the clown is just standing there looking at him, like smiling. And then with every rotation of the merry-go-round, he gets older and older until he turns into dust. It's actually pretty scary. And then the old man shoots at the clown. Punchinello is his name. And I guess he's so freaked out that he won't fall over that he has a heart attack. And then Punchinello says, "Okay, the circus is yours now." And basically says, "I gotta go now." And he's gone. It looks like he just disappears. So it's almost like her father's spirit came back to protect her. And there's the reprinted cover of number 8. God, that's a good cover. Now we have Swamp Thing. Sorry, Roots of the Swamp Thing, number 5. Reprinting number 9 and number 10 of the original run. This is an iconic Swamp Thing cover. I think I've seen posters of that. Okay, maybe that was in my dream, sorry. There should be a poster of that. So we're up to number 9, I think. And we see a freight train. And these two hobos on the train are sneaking up on someone in a big blanket. And they're going to rob him and kill him. Look how well drawn. This is some prime writing right here. And all of a sudden we see them being tossed outside, right through the wall of the boxcar. And of course, it's Swamp Thing. This is called The Stalker from Beyond. So Swamp Thing is now returning to the bayou where he was born. Now we cut away. Matt Cable's on vacation with Abigail. Seems like they're getting a little cozy. Abigail Garkin's so fucking hot. There's something about her, man. It's not just that cool hair. She's always wearing something really revealing and hot. So all of a sudden, this FBI agent trudges up the beach and says, "Hey, we need you back in D.C. Your vacation's over." He's like, "God damn it." And so we see him back in military command. He meets a cigar-chomping military guy, Captain Brad Sampson. And he says, "We need you for this mission. Operation Space Face." I guess they've detected an honest-to-God UFO deep in the Louisiana swamplands. Since you've already been around, traipsing about there looking for Swamp Thing, we want you to lead our team into the swamp so we can make contact. I like how, after this whole thing, Matt Gable just thinks, "I don't think I'm going to like this man." Because we, the reader, already don't like him. Swamp Thing returns to the barn where he was created, the old Holland lab, And there's a giant spaceship inside being having repairs done on it. And he looks over and he sees the inhabitant of the spaceship. It's this guy. Such a weird design. He's got these big elephant feet / legs. So I guess Swamp Thing's mad at him. I guess because he's in the barn? I can't remember why, actually, sorry. Oh, because Swamp Thing thought he could return to the lab and, figure out how to change himself back to humanity. But this guy has used all of the lab stuff on his spaceship. So he's very angry. He attacks the alien. The alien blows his hand off. Seems like Swamp Thing's regenerative. God damn, I can't say that word. Regenerative powers are very increased. In like 2 seconds, his hand goes back. They start a fight. The spaceship lands on Swamp Thing. Pretty devastating blow, even though he's Swamp Thing. So much nice art in here. Ryzen just keeps getting better at drawing Swamp Thing. This would be his last issue, though, unfortunately. So the alien takes Swamp Thing and just throws him into the swamp. Look how good these trees are drawn. Just everything. Now we see this a military task force with Matt Cable leading them. Really nice art. And, okay, I'm just going to hazard a guess here. All of a sudden, the art looks, it has a cool roughness to it. I wonder if his studio mate Jeff Jones helped to make this. I see some Jeff Jones inking going on. I'm not the best at identifying artists at all. I'm not very good, but I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised. And all of a sudden, the art looks very different on this page. So they come upon the barn, and they see the alien. One of them attacks the alien, I guess. I was a little confused because he has guns, but he just kind of runs up to the alien. I didn't know if he was just wanted to hug him and try to make friends, but the alien thinks he's attacking, and he basically cracks his neck, or at least knocks him out. I don't know if he's killed him. So they chain up the alien with this kind of crazy handcuffs. Which they don't even explain how. Okay, they kind of do. It looks like the alien seems to be having remorse over what he did to this guy. So he's just not moving. So I guess while he's in this state of regret, they put these handcuffs on him. They bring him outside. And then everyone starts fighting about what they're going to do about this alien. Some of these guys are like, we got to just kill this thing. This is a huge threat to Earth. Of course, most of them are just like, guys, we can't. That's not our orders. We have to bring this in for study. This is an amazing scientific find. But even Captain Sampson, who's, I think, the leader of this mission, he breaks the radio so they can't call in and get confirmation because he wants to kill him too. Now Swamp Thing shows up. There's the swamp rejuvenated him. I thought this page was very interesting. We see all the guys, and you got all these horizontal panels, and they're all talking about what to do with the alien. And Ryzen just imperceptibly shows every bit of movement, like we're watching a little play or something. So this guy goes do, walks over here. Every single character has a little bit of business where they're all moving through the panel. It's not that impressive because they're not doing anything that impressive. It's just very curious, though. I can't remember ever seeing a page of panels like this where people are just talking and everyone's just kind of moving, not doing anything that interesting. See this guy here? He's cooking, and then he gets up and then walks over here. That's about it. So when everyone's asleep, Captain Sampson's going to do his deed. Cocks a gun and goes up to the alien. And right when he's about to shoot him, Swamp Thing comes out of nowhere, grabs the gun out of his hand. The other guys realize, well, including Matt Cable, what he was up to. And him and Samson, Matt Cable starts fighting with him. Some of the other guys attack him. And it turns into just this bloody brawl between, because half of them want to kill the alien, half don't. Want to just be good soldiers. So Swamp Thing, while they're fighting each other, Swamp Thing frees the alien. And, sorry, I just want to see something right here. Oh, yeah. I forgot about this part. The alien puts his arm on Swamp Thing's shoulder, kind of a universal gesture, just like, thank you. And then it says the Swamp Thing vanishes. I don't even remember this part. And he's about to get into his ship, because I guess he's repaired it. And the soldiers kind of run towards him. I think they're going to attack him. And then he sets up a force field. And finally he decides to communicate with them. Oh, he says, I finally have heard enough of your language. I can communicate. I came to you in peace, but I have only found violence. If you helped me repair my ship, I would have given you so much in return, but now all I have for you is pity. And the spaceship takes off. And then, for some reason, I don't think they really explain why the ship careens out of off course and crashes. And that's the end. So now's the last issue in the run, The Man Who Would Not Die. Now, this issue, it says Bernie Wrightson contributes the plot, and Len Wein just scripts. And this is, I like this one a lot, and it looks like Bernie Wrightson put more of himself into this because he was invested in the story. Like, look at this amazing Wrightson art. So, we see this character. He's been running for hours. Bloodhounds have been chasing him. He's a fugitive from a chain gang. He comes up upon this old woman. We're in the swamp again. And she's tending a cauldron over a fire. And then Swamp Thing shows up and is watching. He's like, what the hell's going on here? The convict wraps his chains around this lady. And Swamp Thing summons up the power to say no. And he comes to intervene. It's kind of a crazy face there. Very expressive. And then the guy's about to attack Swamp Thing and he just falls over. I guess he's totally dead tired from running, escaping from jail and all that. And then the old woman introduces herself. Her name's Auntie Bellum. And I guess her last name's Bellum. And she's an old auntie. And she tells Swamp Thing that this land used to be beautiful. And we go back. I guess she's very old because she remembers the days of slavery. And she says that the master of the house, Samson Parminter, he was just the most evil, sadistic man ever. He would just abuse all of them. One day he took a liking to Elsbeth, one of the slave women. And she refused him. She said she's already promised to another. So he decided to tear her limb from limb. This guy named Black Jubal, a slave, he's the one who she was promised to. He stepped up. He only had one arm. Parminter did not like this. So he put him at a stake and burned him up. After while he was dying, Black Jubal cursed him. Said even death wouldn't stop him from dealing with from dealing with you. After that, Parminter almost got worse. He was almost like he was daring him to come back from the dead. But then one day, they heard noises from the plantation house. They ran in. Parminter was dead, torn limb from limb. They found pieces of them in every different room of the house. God, that's a great panel. This one's almost all good panels. This is really an exemplary issue. This is some great stuff. I really do feel like Bernie Wrightson was inspired because he wanted to tell this story. I love this character of Antebellum, even though the name's kind of corny. And all of a sudden he realizes there's some eyes in the woods looking at him. He starts giving chase. And you guys can probably already tell. It's the unmen. The guy with the head in his crotch. And he comes to a clearing and he sees all these unmen. And it turns out this is Arcane. There's Cranius, the guy with the head. He looks a little different though now. They all look a little, like this guy looks a little different too. But I love these unmen, the way Wrightson draws them. So Arcane tells him how he survived. You know, last we saw, Arcane fell out of the castle. Thought he was dead. But I guess a few of the unmen survived their fall. And I guess with his remaining amount of life, Arcane like psychically controlled them to take them up to a hidden laboratory and, you know, give them a new body. But they're a bunch of unmen. They're kind of dolts. And so they kind of fucked up. So he has this crazy body now. They actually swam across the Atlantic. I guess unmen don't get hungry or tired. And he still wants Swamp Thing's body, basically, is the long and short of it. He's like, yeah, I still want your body. It's the perfect body for me to conquer the world. I do like that his aspirations have grown. Instead of just taking over a small Balkan village, he now does. If he can take over Swamp Thing's body, he wants to take over the whole world. So many good panels. The way he draws this twisted Arcane is... it's so good. So ugly and great. So now Arcane starts a fight with Swamp Thing. The strange thing is he does pretty good in his fight against Swamp Thing. So, you know, maybe just keep that body. You know, you're pretty fucking strong. Though I guess Swamp Thing is more indestructible because, you know, he can't even rip out his heart. He doesn't have one. I love these weird long arms of Arcane. God, just the way he draws trees here. There's just thin little ink lines indicating these skeletal trees in the distance. It looks beautiful. God, all these panels are so nice. Look at that. So he keeps mentioning, like, he said, at first he says something like, you know, I'm going to take over the world and everyone will be my slave. And at the mention of that word, the wind grows harsher and a whispered moan comes from the graveyard. I didn't mention they're in a graveyard. And he says it again. The murmuring grows deeper. But of course, nobody notices because they're watching this fight. And it looks like he's defeated Swamp Thing. And he says, let's return him to the laboratory. We'll switch my brain into his body and I'll take over the world. And with that, the windswept moans become a muffled cry of outrage and despair. So loud now that Arcane and his unmen can't ignore it. And all of a sudden, the graves start toppling over. And out of the graves come all of these dead slaves. There's Jubal in front. And of course, Swamp Thing recognizes this guy from an Antebellum story. the one-armed giant of a man. And then the slaves start attacking the Endmen and Arcane. Black Jubal turns to Swamp Thing and says, "This has nothing to do with you. Go to sleep." And he makes him go to sleep. So Swamp Thing misses it all. And they don't show it, of course, the grisly outcome, but it looks like they're going to tear Arcane limb from limb just with their bare hands. Just this panel right here, just gorgeous. Just trees. Swamp Thing finally wakes up. Of course, everyone's gone now. But there's 7 new graves. One big one in the middle. Swamp Thing doesn't even want to see. He just wants to get out of there. But if he did stay, this is what we see. They're all bloody. They're caked in the blood of the... And one of them, they scrawled Arcane on it. So now there's an epilogue here. We see him walking through the swamp, and he notices a grave kind of hiding under a bush. Elsbeth Bellum, Antebellum. So that was her ghost, which I guess makes sense because she would have been really fucking old if she was, even though this is 1970, she would have had to been, I don't know, 120 or something. And here's one of those typical dumb Len Wein lines. Swamp Thing thinks, "I have to keep telling myself that it was only a dream, and maybe someday I'll make myself believe it." And then for some reason, Pretty Wayson draws this giant grotesque grub worm in the last panel. And is it supposed to be crying? There's some moisture coming from its head. I don't know. Did I miss something? Was there something about a giant grub worm? I don't know. So now we have, this is a nice bonus, this is the very first Swamp Thing story. It's not technically in canon. Well, it wasn't until Alan Moore made it in canon. But this was just a little story that Len Wein and Bernie Wrightson did for House of Mystery, or maybe House of Secrets. And they just thought, let's make a little short story about this swamp creature. So it's different than, it's not Alec Holland. It takes place in the past, like in the 1800s. Of course, Alan Moore brilliantly weaved it into his mythos for Swamp Thing because he's a clever lad, that one. And we see the Swamp Thing. He's outside this mansion, just kind of just looking in with memories of pain. Inside of this mansion, we see this woman. I guess she'd been married to this guy for 6 months. Her name's Linda Olson Ridge. And the husband says, "You're thinking of Alex, aren't you?" Or I guess they do have the same first names. And she says, "I'm sorry, Damien." And she can't help it. Apparently, she was in love with this guy, Alex. Just so in love with him. The love of her life. They got married. Damien was Alex's fellow scientist. And one day there was an explosion in the lab, killing Alex. Damien became the shoulder to cry on, I guess. And that's how he ended up marrying her. Now we hear Damien's story. Damien says he never forgave Alex. Alex knew that Damien loved her, but he won her heart. All those years he just played the faithful friend, but he just couldn't take it anymore. He wanted Linda so bad that he made the explosion. He devised it to kill Alex. And I'm sorry. Apparently, wait, he wasn't killed in the explosion, but he was pretty out of it. So Damien dragged him to the swamp and buried him in the swamp. And, of course, after the funeral, he was like the shoulder to cry on. He totally married her, but she never really loved him. But now he's starting to realize, he's like, uh-oh. She's putting 2 and 2 together. This fact that she's always sad, she'll figure it out that I killed Alex, so I'm going to have to kill her. So he goes up to her bedroom. Meanwhile, the Swamp Thing's outside the window just peering in, kind of googly-eyed. He's going to inject her with the poison. And Swamp Thing breaks through the window to save her. He's kind of a weird face there. He's like, go. And he kills Damien. He kind of tries to come up to Linda. You know, he can't talk. And she just thinks, it's a monster, stay away, no. Even though he saved her life. Actually, she might not even know that. She probably even doesn't know that. Yeah, she doesn't know that Damien was sneaking up trying to kill her. So, as far as she knows, he just killed her husband. And he realizes that he can't stand the tortured look in her one sparkling eyes. This fear and hatred she has of him now. He can't stand it. And so he turns around and walks back to the swamp. And the last panel is he's shambling off to the rest of his lonely life. If tears could come, they would. Love this last panel. Colors, everything about it, really nice. It's kind of fun. It's a little Joe Orlando drawing, I imagine, from the time where he drew all Wine and Rights and him hanging out with Swamp Thing. And there's the cover to number 8. Oops, sorry, number 10. Beautiful color. Look at the detail in there. Wrightson's really going to town. So there you have it, guys. Sorry that took so long. But Roots of the Swamp Thing, number 3, 4, and 5. And just great stuff. It's definitely some of the best comics of the Bronze Age. I don't think many people would argue with me there. It's definitely in the canon of great Bronze Age comics. Of course, the canon got a lot better after the Bronze Age. But still, for the Bronze Age, these are pretty damn good. So, hope you guys like looking at these. And I hope to see you next time here at the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies.